It's Emily here with Ink Not Blood, and this is another short little vlog about prepping for NaNoWriMo. So I guess Preptober, if you're into that kind of thing. So if you are new to my channel, I am doing NaNoWriMo for the very first time this year, and I will be working on a manuscript called Artemis that I started earlier in 2018. In order to prep for November, I have been doing a lot of outlining type tasks. One thing that I forgot to mention in my previous video is that when I first got stuck and really wanted to start with outlining, the very first thing that I tackled was character outlines, which was super helpful. So I sat down, I listed out all of my characters, and I started to list everything that I could think of about them. What they looked like, what they liked, what they didn't like, what their personality was like, what their background was like, their family, and then also looking at their goals and what their journey and growth would look like throughout the book. Now, I don't have that figured out for everybody, but I wrote down what I did have figured out, and I started to ask myself questions about each character, which I either answered or left in the outline to kind of mull over later. So that was extremely helpful for me. So if you are finding yourself stuck, I think that's a great place to start. Really brainstorming hard about your characters can only make your writing stronger. So what I've been doing in my prep for November has been a combination of active and passive brainstorming. So for the character outlining that I mentioned, that's definitely active brainstorming for me. I sat down, opened my laptop, and worked specifically on that task, all that brainstorming, and focused just on that. Now, a little later today, I'll be doing some passive brainstorming, so I'll talk a little bit about what I mean by that. But for today, I'm going to do a little narrative structure study with a new format that I found today on YouTube. Oh, it's windy. So that's something that I want to check out and take some notes on. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. Let's go. So here you can see the notes that I've taken on the hero's journey structure. This is a video that I found on YouTube outlining what's included in a book by Joseph Campbell that I believe is called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. I had been looking at Emily Bourne's story circle approach for looking at story structure and character arc, which is largely based on this hero's journey wheel here. So I wanted to take a look at this, and it made me really interested in checking out the book. I decided to spend some time on this today because I do think that my work in progress that I'm using for Nano is basically a type of hero's journey. Now, it might not follow all of this exactly, but I think this is a good outline so that if I get stuck in the process, I can come back to this and think about what kind of steps I might want to include in my story to call back to this very traditional look at a hero's journey. So not that I'm going to follow this exactly, but you know, it's good to have a guideline. Okay, so in addition to some of that more active brainstorming and study work I've been doing on narrative structure, I also like to do some kind of passive brainstorming, which is more just exposing myself to other ideas about story and structure, just kind of absorbing it and letting it just sit in my brain while I think about my own story and how those things relate to my story. One thing that I like to do is just go through YouTube and pick out a bunch of videos that I think might be helpful, either looking at plot or character arc or whatever it is that I'm thinking about that day. So I add those videos to my watch later list, and then I will go through and watch them. But instead of being like, I'm gonna write, but first I'm gonna spend all this time watching these videos, eating into my writing time, I try to put those videos into time that I'm spending doing other things. So I'm going to have lunch now, and then I'll clean up after I make my lunch. So I will use that time to listen to these videos and kind of get my gears going about my own story in terms of plot, character arc, and a bunch of other things. So this is a way that I can maximize my time by kind of just letting those ideas percolate in my brain, and this is honestly how I get a lot of breakthroughs. When I'm working on my story, it's not necessarily when I sit down and I'm like really trying to figure out a problem that a solution comes. It's oftentimes when I'm not thinking too hard about it, doing something else, and then I hear something that makes me go, oh, I know what to do in my own story. So that's one of the reasons why I like to have kind of a balance between active and passive brainstorming. And like I said before, I've never written a book before, so it's not like I'm going into this being like, here's all this advice, I know exactly what you should do. I'm kind of just making stuff up as I go, and these vlogs will serve as a record so that later I can go back and say that worked, that didn't, and make a plan for the next book I write. Okay, I'm really hungry, so now it's lunchtime. Go ahead and end the vlog here. You can go ahead and check out the description of this video where I will be putting some links for videos that I have found particularly helpful while I've been brainstorming and thinking about my story. So now that I have done some active brainstorming, some passive brainstorming, I'm actually going to sit down and continue on with my read through of the 38,000 words that I've already written for this manuscript so I can just re-familiarize myself with what I've written, take some notes, and also do some brainstorming while I'm there in it. At the time I'm filming this, there isn't a lot of time before NaNoWriMo starts, so I'm ready to really make the most of these last few days of prep and hopefully get into NaNoWriMo with a good running start. Alright, I'll see you guys soon. Blah, blah, blah.